Welcome, friends. So glad to have you for this episode of the Perfect Job Show. So happy to bring you yet another success story. And we're going to get right into it, friends. You know, the reason that I bring you these people week in and week out is because I want you to listen to these stories and I want you to see what you recognize that went on along their path that's also happening along your path. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive in. And we're talking to Wendy. So Wendy just got hired. And you know what? I'm not going to take the words out of your mouth. So go ahead and share your good news with us, please.
I have recently been hired as a new operations manager at the Anshion Group, which will be a whole new profession for me in the legal class action operational portion. So I'm very excited for the new change.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yay. Okay.
Yay.
So take us back a little bit. And the first thing that I want to know is how did this come about? Did you find this opportunity? Did they find you? Tell us that story.
The recruiter found me on LinkedIn and she sent me a message in the DM and shared the job posting with me and thought that my credentials would be a good match and asked if I would be interested in having a conversation with her. So the job description was totally the basics 101 of my management experience. So I was like, yeah, let's have a conversation. So she called me the next day and I gave her my whole life story, and then the rest is history.
Now, take us back a little bit further. What had been happening in your job search before you and I got together?
So I was 27 years in the mortgage industry, worked my way up in the management skill there. Due to current economic situation, lots of mortgage professionals are losing their careers, and there's really no job opportunities out there for them. And it really is a hopeless feeling when you don't see any jobs at all in your field coming about. So when I found you, I was at that defeated mark. That I was like, how am I going to survive? How am I going to find another career? No one knows when mortgages are going to turn around again. And I really didn't know where to start, where to go, how to do my resume anymore because it's been so long with one company. And that's when I was referred to you and reached out to you.
Now, tell me about a couple of timelines. I'll ask you two questions at once.
Okay.
Number one, how long had you been job searching in the first place before you and I got together? And then number two, from the time the recruiter reached out to you until the time you got the offer, what was that timeline? Tell me both of those things.
Okay. So with you, I think I reached out to you within 6 to 8 weeks after being let go from my last job. And then, as far as the recruiter, she reached out to me at the end of, I'm sorry, the middle of January. And I had 3 interviews with them, and they were spaced out because people are in different locations and had different speaking events. So that went over a 2.5 week period. And then after the third interview, I got the offer 2 days later. So probably about 3.5 weeks.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now,
Yeah.
walk us through the interview process. Um, did you feel prepared for it? Did you feel like you gave solid answers? Were they surprised and impressed? They had to have been because they hired you. So, what did
Yeah.
they say about your performance in the interviews?
So I have not been on a formal interview. I just want to preface this in many, 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 many years because I spent my last job was a lifelong job that I had for over 16 years. So I've performed a lot of interviews, but never have been the interviewee. So I did reach out to you before my first official um, interview with them, and you gave me a little cheat sheet for behavioral questions, and I studied it like it was the SATs. So by the time I had my first interview, it was with a director and an HR individual. I felt like I nailed it because of that cheat sheet. It really prepared me. And then as I was delivering the answers, I was coming up with those own stories that I was remembering about my skills from my job set. So I just felt like at the end of that call, I felt like I absolutely nailed the interview. So thanks for the cheat sheet. Um, and then the second interview was with the CEO. And I think he just wanted to feel me out. But again, he wanted to know why I was leaving the mortgage industry, mostly, and more about like my philanthropic work, and kind of was gauging my personality, where I came from, where I grew up, stuff like that. And when I hung up with him, I felt like I nailed it with him too, because we had a nice little rapport, some laughter, smiles all around. And I was like, okay, good. Then the third interview was with the managing director. The two of them couldn't get on the same schedule, so that's why there was three interviews, and he was the toughest of them all. I just wasn't sure by his body language if he was buying my answers, if he was feeling what I was delivering. At this point, I'm trying to deliver that my skills are transferable to another market, which is law. So law and mortgages, yeah, there's a lot of rules and regulations, So I had to make that sale. And I will admit this, the one question I was not prepared for was, how are my skills transferable? And you would think that would have been the first question that I studied for myself. And it was the one question I didn't think I had to explain because my resume said it for me. But it is one of those things, to all those out there, that you should really be prepared for when you're changing fields. So I left that interview really not knowing how I did. And then when the recruiter reached out to me 2 days later to tell me that they were extending an offer, she read an email from the HR assistant that said, so and so and so and so, CEO and managing director, were absolutely blown away with her in her interviews. So they're happy, beyond happy, to extend me an offer of whatever. So I thought I did awful in that third interview, or just was really unsure of it. And to hear that feedback was like, oh, okay, I still got it. It was like,
That's awesome.
a little boost I needed for myself in situation that I've been placed in. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, before this happened, because obviously getting the offer is the end of the story. Before this happened, we worked on putting that resume together for you. And
yeah.
what I want to know is, how did you feel about the resume when you first got the new one? And then talk about any feedback that you got just kind of from the market about your resume. What were people saying as you were looking for your next opportunity?
Um, so when I met with you and I sent you my resume, and when you sent me the revised one after our several conversations to ensure that my story was my story, I felt completely inadequate sending you what I initially sent you, because it was so outdated and not in current time. So having that awareness and that awakeness to, like, oh my goodness, like I was going blind into the wolves for those 6 to 8 weeks without you. And having that made me really feel like my value was present on a piece of paper. So I do thank you for all of that. As for um, feedback I've received, it was more like, you're definitely qualified. You've definitely displayed your accomplishments on your resume. And because they were already profound and placed in the resume for people to read, there was really not a lot of follow-up questions on that, because it was already detailed and they were able to read it. They were able to recite it back to me in the interviews process. So I thought that helped, like, clear some questions in conversations that I've had with recruiters and other interview people. So yeah.
And then let me ask you the same things about LinkedIn. Kind of give us the picture of whatever was going on or not going on with your LinkedIn profile before. And then what kind of response did you get once you and I were done with it?
So With LinkedIn, I definitely didn't know half the capabilities that it had until I started going through some of the material you provided. So I was not getting much of a response for anything, but because mostly my resume was geared towards a mortgage professional, not a management leader, you know, concept builder, anything, team builder, nothing. So after you got into involved in it, and I had the connections with all the recruiters, I was starting to have more conversations, and they were starting to see that I did have some value. And it was just a matter of them having a position for me. I don't think management is like one of those wide markets, especially at my level, that, is just advertised out there. So the fact that the recruiter found me the way that she did says that she saw something on my LinkedIn that was spelled out just like it was in my resume. So, um, yeah, I think the update definitely helped finding me my perfect match. So,
Okay, good, good. Glad to hear it.
yeah, yeah.
Now, so in the beginning of our conversation, you were saying that this role is, a pretty distinct difference from mortgages for 27 years. So, how are the two different now?
So from what I can tell, I haven't had my first day yet. That's on Monday. So, in fairness, I can't really tell you, but um, in mortgages, it's, someone applies for a home, they got to meet the requirements, and then we send you to the closing table and fund loans. And I did a little bit of all of that. So, um, it in this, it's heavily involved with class action lawsuits and the operation of the process during the class action lawsuit. So there's notifications that need to be sent, signatures that need to be done. There's class action clients that want to know the status of their their case, and they have questions or they have additional information they want to provide and stuff like that. So from what I'm being told, they're building a call center that will help place all of that information. And then the review team that I will have will be working hand in hand with them to make sure that we're doing all of our due diligence to ensure that things are done proper time and place for the class action lawsuits. And I think that's the best that I got from all those interviews is what I'm going to be doing. So I
Good,
think
good.
I think in this case, where I can draw the parallel is that they have guidelines too. And I know how to manage to guidelines once I know what they are and I know what the expectations are of their staff. And because of my years in management, I just need someone to shine a light on those materials for me to get familiar with, and then I can start finding my own way. Once someone shows me or tells me or whatever, I'm on the ground running. So I look forward to the change. I look forward to the economic stability of a lawsuit.
Yep.
um, but yeah, so yeah, I am very excited for the path ahead.
Well, you just took me right into my last question.
Yeah.
So tell me about your feeling like overarching over this through this whole process. And now you're at the end, you're starting on Monday. How does it feel?
So if I, you and I have had some very honest conversations. When you met me, I was defeated. I didn't know where to go, where to look, what was going to happen. I lost the confidence in myself, and I was just like, I can't do anything. I'm pigeonholed. Like, why didn't they want me after 16 years? And I know it wasn't me. I know it was the market. Lots of my friends are looking for work right now. So, um, but you brought me back to life in one of our conversations where you had me explain what I do and what I do well. And having that conversation and telling you the stories put that like reminder and that light bulb like, yes, you do have those skills. You are marketable. You are worth some industry looking at you and taking a chance on you. So, from that perspective, you gave me that. and it put a fire on me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to reach out to these recruiters. I'm going to update my resume every single time. I still think it's a silly requirement, but I'll do the work. And um, and I was able to do all of those things. And then the right person found me at the right time. And I'm not scared anymore. So like I cannot wait to take the train on Monday and walk into the city and act like I own it. And so it's a nice way to come out at the end of the tunnel when it looks so dark going in.
Friends, this is the story that I wanted to share with you. Wendy has done so well. So, 3.5 weeks from when the recruiter came to her until she got the offer. I hope that, during some of the steps down her path, you recognize where you are. And I hope that you can realize that you can absolutely get through, just like Wendy did. So, Wendy, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for spending your time with us. Friends, that's going to do it for this edition of The Perfect Job Show. Stay tuned for the next episode. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day.